Thanks for joining us today. My name is John Nelson, Vice President at BBI International. I'm joined today with Anna Simmet. She is the editor of Pellet Mill Magazine, Biomass Magazine, and Biodiesel Magazine. Our special guest today is Dane Floyd. He's the president of Biomass Engineering and Equipment. Thanks for joining us today, Dane.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, so we definitely are excited about your panel that's taking place at the International Biomass Conference and Expo. Your panel where you're discussing is on March 14th. So I'll let you know, we've got Anna here. We're going to ask you a couple questions about that panel. So Anna.
Yeah. Hi, Dane. Nice of you to join us today for the podcast. I think a good starting point would be maybe you could just start, tell us a little bit about biomass engineering and equipment and what your role is there.
Sure. Well, we're very comfortable in this environment, obviously. You've known us for some time, and we've been active in this area. Mm-hmm. We are a group today of about 30, 35 people. I wish we could find 50, but we're working on that.
Right.
Producing primarily today now, it's material handling equipment for heavily to the biomass, but other industries as well. Pretty diverse, from food products, animal food products, waste products, things like cat litter, doing projects in energy, sawmills. Pellet plants is a big part of our operation today, and growing fast. As I said, looking for more people. Our products have been nicely accepted, and we're pleased with the progress we're making.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you said cat litter, so do you have a cat?
No, I don't. So I don't really know how the end result works.
I don't either. My husband's allergic, and my kids, they hate that. But, you know.
I am also allergic to cats.
What can you do?
I am allergic to cats as well.
Oh. So. Wow, maybe most husbands are. It's kind of like...
Yeah. It's interesting for us to be so diverse that we've never slowed down. We've never had a down year. Mm-hmm. It's been quite a ride.
Yeah, you mentioned
growth.
Yeah,
you mentioned you're looking for people. Are you looking to hire? I mean, is that something you're actively doing?
Yes. 10 minutes ago, I was on the websites looking again to see what are the latest applicants and can I get anything moving.
Well, there
especially
you go.
Needing
right.
engineering, project management, field.
So anyone
field
listening, if you're interested, contact Dane.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. So, Dane, let's talk a little about your presentation coming up at the Biomass Conference. I read your abstract, super interesting and quite detailed. And, one thing that jumped out at me right away is that you mentioned you'll be begin by discussing an explosion at a door mill that happened in Quebec. Unbelievably tragic, but I think it just, a lot of times it takes these real examples to draw attention to what a critical issue this is. So could you talk a little bit more about what people can expect during your talk?
Yeah, it's a great start to it, is to kind of reference the humanity of what we're all doing every day. We get buried in the steel and the motors and the mechanical parts of what we do, and we're engineers that are producing solutions, but we also have to always have in mind the human aspect of what we're doing and the real risks that are present in these operations, especially in the dry materials that we're dealing with so often in particle board or OSB or plywood or pellets or any of these sawmills that are processing or dry material component plants. These are serious risks, and often plants can run for long periods of time without serious attention to these, and they get somewhat complacent. And it takes something like that, as you say, sometimes to get people's attention and make them really sit down and think about what are these risks. And just because it hasn't happened to me yet doesn't mean it won't happen. And when it does, how big is it going to be, and how catastrophic? But let's hope that we don't hear about more of these kind of events that take human lives. But the fact is, we have to be realistic about the risks. And so we've spent, not just from that, but this goes back to when we really got heavily into the pellet industry. It's a very immature industry. This is often, the initial pellet plants were put together from the animal food industry and from the grain industry, and there wasn't a lot of understanding of these risks and the thought of what to do to mitigate them. And so when we entered this, we recognized that, having come from more of the sawmill and the other parts of the wood industry, we saw these things long ago. And we tried to bring that thinking with us. And to continue on that, we've recently, over the last several years, put a lot of effort into understanding what the NFPA guidelines are, how did they get there, a kind of a thought about where is it going, and then how do we design for that, and not just as an afterthought, but in the beginnings of design. So we've assigned one engineer internally who has really spent lots of hours on this particular NFPA topics that apply to us in this industry. And we want to make sure that we're able to educate customers and keep them abreast of what's new and how can we address these. And we've changed our designs along the way. We've modified, improved, and we've done extensive simulation followed by explosive testing in our parking lot. So,
wow. That sounds interesting.
Well, yeah, it's kind of fun sometimes. But that's the real world proof of you have to do the calculations and you do the simulations and the modeling, then you follow it up with real world. Okay, let's go break it and see if it breaks where we predicted it would. And we've done a lot of that. I've invested a lot of money in broken conveyor parts to prove that things are going to behave the way we expect them to. And as long as it's behaving the way you expect it to, then you can control the explosions that are going to come, and they aren't going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Mm-hmm. So another point that I wanted to touch on after I read your abstract was, you make a point to say that, one, the biomass industry must take safety seriously, and two, they should demand that their vendors prove that they're in compliance with NFPA standards. I think being that you are a vendor, that really says a lot about what you stand for. And so what questions should customers ask their vendors, in regard to this? How do they know?
It's really, for us at least, it's easy to show the customer if they just ask for the background testing and simulation and calculations and proofs. Now, that doesn't mean that every client is going to go in and look at the mathematics behind what is being done today, but I think any competent supplier in the industry today should be able to take their client to the engineering office, bring up the simulations in 3D and show them, because these are all visual simulations that anyone can understand with a few minutes of explanation. It's not like someone has to have a PhD in mathematics to figure this out. It's done for us behind the scenes in the software. And as long as you have some basic explanation of what you're seeing from the results of the software, it's easy enough for the clients to understand it.
Okay. So, we like to end this with a fun question. What would you say is your, what's your, not
no pressure.
What's your favorite part of your job, would you say?
Wow. Wow. Well, I get up early and I love it. I love what I'm doing.
Oh, you're crazy.
I can't.
I'd say blowing
here
stuff
I am.
up.
Here I am still working, and I'm going to go back to my computer when I get done with this call.
Oh, wow.
There's not much of it I don't like, other than I guess I would say that the part I like the most. I guess I would say I like the problem solving, the challenges of how
Nice.
oftentimes we get pulled into
Great.
an interesting challenge where customers just got a bottleneck or something isn't working the way it was supposed to. And though I don't, at my level, I don't get into too much of the details anymore, but at least
Right.
when let's put it this way, when everyone else can't figure it out, I usually get to get involved and have some fun. So I like the problem solving, the challenging part of it. The well, you can't do that. Well, just watch me.
Right. I like it.
Yeah,
Challenge.
yeah,
Challenge
Makes sense.
accepted.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, I really look forward to your presentation and the entire panel at the conference. Gosh, we are about a month and a half out. And I guess I want to thank you so much for the insight. It's been really great chatting with you today, Dane.
Yes.
Good. I'm
Thank
glad
you,
to
Dane.
get to share some time with you and share some ideas and some forecast of what's to come. And hopefully I'll have something interesting when we have that presentation that day.
Great.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so
forward to
much.
seeing you.
And thanks everyone who's listening.
Yep. Thank you.
Bye, all.